Coffee is a big part of my day. Not only does it help me get through the morning, but I just really love good coffee. Trade is a subscription service that brings great coffee from indie roasters all over the country right to your door. Tell Trade what you like typically. Single origins, blends, dark or light roasts, or even how you make your coffee, and they'll recommend the right beans for you. Or you can choose from over 450 different coffees and build your own queue. Then you select how often you'd like your coffee delivered, whether that be 7 days, 10 days, 14 days. Shipping's always free. If you find that you have too many beans and you need to skip a delivery, you can do that. Running out sooner than you think and need an order sooner, you can do that as well. No charge. I've done it myself a couple times. It's great to know that I have that flexibility. Go to unitedwedrink.com/trade and get started with Trade and enjoy 30% off your first month. That's unitedwedrink.com/trade. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour, more like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on UnitedWeDrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. I'm joined, as always, by Tim Johnson and Kevin Abbott. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey.
Just peachy, Mike.
I'm excited today because I think with maybe some exceptions, we're not going to talk much about beer today. And we do that a lot. I'm not saying that someone's not going to have. I guess I should probably wait till you talk about what we're actually doing. But I just think this is an interesting social experiment that we're doing because people are either going to love this episode or it's going to be their absolute least favorite one we've ever done.
I would agree, and I always like those episodes because it really just is fun to me. There was one that we did years ago, like over 5 years ago, because it was my bachelor party episode that we did at your house, Kevin, before you were officially even a host, and I felt like we just got drunk at your kitchen table and just said stuff. And I don't even want to go back and listen to that. I'm just going to assume that is what happened. And I enjoyed the hell out of it, even though the listener probably hated it. But before we get into what is going to happen on this episode, well, first a commercial break. And that commercial break is, what are you drinking, Tim?
I am drinking Grain Belt Premium. I decided to just go classic Minnesota here. Just go with if you've seen any iconic images of our town, you've probably seen the Grain Belt neon sign over the Hennepin Avenue Bridge. And if not, shame on you. But I'm just going classic Grain Belt Premium. Nice, extra corny lager, a little bit of acetaldehyde on the finish, but it's the friendly beer, and that's what I'm going with.
You know, I have never been able to say that proper pronunciation of what I call acetaldehyde. Like, every time I hear it said differently from me, I'm like, oh yeah, you're saying it the correct way. I know that I'm wrong, but I can't pronounce the correct way ever.
I was going to say, I've heard you say it, Mike, at least 10 to 15 times, and I don't think I've ever heard you say it the same way twice.
Well, that is my biggest flaw. I'm glad that you brought that up, Kevin. We're going to cut to each other's core tonight, and Kevin's starting off it early.
It's a roast.
What are
That's what we're doing. We're doing a roast. So I am drinking something that's absolutely delicious that I had never had up until like a week ago, which is the Half Acre Pony Pilsner. And I haven't had very many Half Acre beers. I've had a handful of them over the years, but I'd never had this before. It was recommended to me, and it's lovely. I love this beer, but more importantly than that, I have a neighbor named Martin Zuzek, and he is from Slovakia. And he's always telling me that the beer he grew up with, he cannot get here in the States. And the Czech lager, the Bohemian lager, he's like, none of them are right. One, he doesn't know if it's because of the travel or what have it. Like Pilsner or Cal, he's like, no, that's not the beer, right? And every now and then he'll try something. He was at like a bar in New Orleans or a brewery that made nothing but lagers, and he said they made a very close one. And when I gave him a can of this to try, he said that's what it's supposed to taste like. Now, I believe this is supposed to be more of a German Pilsner, but he said that this is what he when he says thinks Pilsner, this is what he thinks of, and he knows his beer really really well. He's from Eastern Europe, and he said this is the bee's knees. So it's not just me saying it.
I haven't had Pony since I lived in Philly because Half Acre stuff was very easy to come across there. And I remember liking it a lot. I think I just looked up. It is German Pilsner is what they have it listed on a Rate Beer or Beer Advocate or whichever one of those. I just love Half Acre. I've never had a bad beer from them. Daisy Cutter is one of my favorite pale ales of all time. And I'm a little biased on that too, because going back my Philly time, my favorite bar in the world used to have Daisy Cutter on draft for $4.75 a pint. And I would get that very often. It's now up to $5.50. How dare they increase the price in the bad times? But no, it's a fantastic beer, fantastic brewery. I love Half Acre a lot. I am having. I decided to have a big beer in a big bottle. Deschutes Vintage Ale, their bourbon barrel aged imperial stout that you could get at Costco. It's the Kirkland brand. I think it was $7 a bomber there.
Yeah.
So this is my second one that we've had, and I was just at Costco last week, and they still had a lot of this lying around. So I might keep on buying a bottle each time I go.
I still haven't had it. I was just remarking that we have to make a Costco run for many things, including dog food. So I think next time I go, I'm going to pick that up because I love the shoots, and you obviously enjoy the beer. So I do have to try it out.
You had the Kirkland Lager on not too long ago, Tim, right?
I did, yeah. I had some KSs. Yeah, I think there's I'm owed a beer in a bet with someone at work, and I think they're gonna bring me some KS lagers. Yeah,
Because that's a beer that, if I'm not mistaken, is something that they make normally that is rebranded for Costco because they have the GABF medal on it for like what the base beer was that they won the medal for.
it could be. I don't remember off my top of my head, but I think you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, some good beverages being drank tonight. So let's get into talking about what this episode's about. If you listen to the last episode, we said it at the end of that episode, but if you don't remember or you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm sorry for that. You should probably stop and go listen to other previous shows. We're doing an all last calls episode. Last calls is what we do at the end of every episode, where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. And typically the rules are that it is uninterrupted, unopposed, and unobjected. No one can chime in. No one can retort or respond afterwards. We just leave it be. but we are going to do all last calls, and we're going to allow responses to it. Let's not interrupt. Okay,
Sure.
we'll keep that around. So no interrupting anyone's last calls, but we will get to respond. I don't know how many of these we have, like a list to ourselves on what we want to talk about. I don't know how many we'll actually get to because I have a feeling just the response to some of these will take us a long time to get through before we can get to the next one. But I guarantee everyone will at least get one last call into this.
So, Mike, I've got an idea. You wanted to know how we decide who goes first. So, I pulled up a Google random number generator, and I'm going to say, Mike, we're going to go in the order that we logged in tonight. So you're number 1, I'm number 2, Tim's number 3. So I'm going to randomly generate who's going first. And that is Tim.
Okay.
Now Mike and me.
Okay. All right. So Tim, oops, what's your last call?
I do like the oops because of the whole oops all berries, oops chocolate donuts, which I still don't agree with how they got to oops chocolate. They don't call it that anymore. They still make the Captain Crunch chocolate donuts. They don't call it that anymore. I think they realized how dumb that was. So my last call is that the overly confident beer people on the internet have not changed. They've just evolved. A couple of things that have come up recently. One, and Mike, I think you saw this, where someone complained on Untappd about a beer, a session IPA, being nothing wrong with it except for the ABV and giving it a low score. To which I responded, boy, the real problem with this vegan lasagna is that it doesn't have any meat. Why would I order myself a vegan lasagna if I really wanted meat? Like, the beer nerds are still just doing the exact same thing. It's just a different group of nerds. It's a new generation. They're not even the beer nerds. I also delved onto Threads because I'm an idiot and decided to try Threads for a bit, and I've already since deleted it because it's dumb. It's as bad as X. But someone had said something about dark beers and how everyone knew what that meant, and I said, what are you talking about? There's plenty of breweries that take a light beer and use something like Cinnamar to make it darker in color. Dark as a color, not a flavor. And they're like, I would love for you to provide any source that anybody is doing that. And I was like, well, my source is that I'm a professional brewer. I've done it at multiple breweries. Here's a link to brewing supply companies that are selling this product called Cinnamar, and this is what it's used for. It kind of reminded me of, there's a Reddit thread of like Confident Incorrect or like, missing the expert or those types of, there's Reddit threads kind of dedicated to like some of these people getting, being called out on their expertise and prove it. And it's like literally you're talking to someone who knows what they're talking about. And so, yeah, I felt like for a while there, one of the things I was liking about where we were at in craft beer is that we had sort of gotten over the homebrew know-it-alls. And I realized that we have and we haven't. They've just sort of evolved. And part of that is also just because I kind of maybe got away from it intentionally. But if craft beer is going through a dramatic revolution right now, I would love to see us get rid of that bullshit.
I love that in the course of that, I thought of two different spots from the Zach Galifianakis Live at the Purple Onion set that were spot on there. The forgetful vegan. Those are some good pepperoni pizza. Fuck.
And the pretentious illiterate.
I'm the pretentious illiterate. Yes, but because that was I told you I don't know how to read. Actually, like was spot on to what you're talking about with some of the beer nerds from past and present. Just it's different people sort of just dressed up a little differently and saying very similar things.
One of the things you said, Tim, is that you said something about thinking we had gotten past it, but maybe you just maybe weren't exposed to it as much. Maybe that's what it is, or at least that's what I took from what you said. If it wasn't that directly, I went to the Best of the Belgians Beer Fest, which is a fest that it's not our beer fest. It's just a fest that we support and sponsor that is in Delray Beach, very close to us at the brewery. And we were involved in that intimately early on, but it's something that we're involved with on the outside kind of. And I never go to beer fests. I don't want to go to beer fests. I avoid them like the plague. But my good friend Tom Barris, friend of the show, Tom Barris, was in town. And I was like, okay, I got to go here, just hang out with him for an hour. And this is a guy I love who's in town, and I never get to see him, and he's going to be here. So I forced myself to go. And I stood behind, because he works for an importer, like anyone who's heard his appearance on the show. And he was, several of his brands were being poured, but the one he was pouring was all the Chimay beers. And by the way, there are some people who came up to me and mentioned United We Drink specifically. There's people that I know from the industry.
So you're as I say, so your dad was at this fest?
So it's just my dad. He flew down for it. But no, there's a couple people. I should say, there's many people in that room that I know and who've talked with me about United We Drink many times. But there are people I did not know that mentioned it. So I do want to stress that, like, most of the people were just lovely. They were thoughtful. They said nice things. They were asking questions. They were enjoying everything. They were lovely. But then there was like 2 or 3 people who came up saying things like, "Is this new? I've had everything Chimay's ever made. What is this, new?" And I was just kind of helping out. And I said, well, this is the double. This is the premier. This is the Chimay red. In many ways you can put it. He's like, that must be new. I'd never had it. I said, I think I'm correct in this. This was the first commercial beer they ever produced. I'm fairly certain in that. And then I talked to Tom about it, and I was right. And this guy was just dead set. He'd never heard of this beer before, and he'd had everything. He was wearing like Belgian beer, like paraphernalia. This dude was right, and there was nothing I was going to say, nothing Tom was going to say that was going to convince him anything other than that. And that when you were saying that, Tim, that was the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, okay, yes, this is brand new, sir. 1946 was when it was produced first commercially, but brand new to you.
Was it the can version?
Sorry, I was taking a drink there. It was it was a bottle.
No. Okay. I was just wondering if, like, because it was in a can, he was very confused by it.
He had triple cans, but everything else was bottled. And there was also some really nice stuff. There was it was Chimay 175. I think it was like an anniversary or some kind of celebration beer for them. It was a blonde ale. It was beautiful. It was so good. And that was relatively new, and something I think they're going to do as a year-round staple at some point. So he would have been right if he had just like pointed slightly to his left when he first picked his beer. But I think that was a roundabout way to say, I think the more you engage with the community, the more you get these asinine, ignorant statements. I will mention again the gentleman at the Renaissance Fair that drank my Waypoint IPA and told me that the hops that I used were old. Okay.
I know my favorite was literally like, while we're hanging up our GABF Gold for American Belgian style for our white IPA, literally hanging it on the wall, we're also brewing it, and a guy is sitting in the tap room, and I come in from the brewery because it's just on the other side of the glass wall, and he's telling me what we're doing wrong with that beer, and I just was like, That medal being hung up there right now is by people that are smarter than you. So thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
Did you actually say that? Did you say that?
I
I hope
did.
so.
Yeah,
You said smarter
I
than
did.
God.
I did.
This needs to be said. People need to hear
Yeah.
this, even though they're never gonna change in a nice way. You didn't call them an asshole. You just
No,
said these people are smarter than you, and we're gonna listen to them.
yeah. Well, because I remember one of our owners at the time, like his friends were like, they had a beer club and they were telling him like the types of beers we really should make. And he's like, you have to understand, we're really what makes those breweries go. And Brock just laughed and just goes, no, you're not. Like, he's like, get over yourselves. The general public is what makes or breaks my brewery, not you four beer nerds. You don't make or break us. Like, you're not the influencers that you think you are. No influencers are the influencers they think they are. It's like, but certainly it's like the people who have never seen your blog or followed your Instagram, the people who aren't even on Instagram, those are the people who make my brewery. So just thank you, but dial it back just 1,000%.
I don't know what it's like currently with home brewers out there, but I mean, I remember in the earlier days at the previous brewery, like hiring for someone to work in the cellar and had home brewers come in and interview for it, and they would say, yeah, I've never worked in a brewery, but I'm home brewing, and I really think that I could help out with recipe development and work on your recipes. It was like, that's not what you've been asked to do. Like, we're fine with doing that here.
You
We
can
need you to
maybe
clean
clean a keg.
kegs.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can maybe.
Yeah.
If you do really well sweeping the floors and picking up around, we might trust you to run the keg washer. Maybe.
Yeah. Can you imagine going up to a chef at a restaurant
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
doing that exact same thing? Like, just the sheer audacity. Like, that's that's why everyone that we used to always make fun of them is because everyone thinks that's what it is, right? It's also like why everybody and their sister opened up a brewery is because like, oh, I must be really good at making beer. My recipe is really good. I'm like, well, first of all, you were just using a Northern Brewer kit, so settle down. Or you found a clone recipe on Beersmith. Let's dial back that you understand all of the effects. Like, based off of the number of breweries in this town that have not understood water chemistry, tells me they don't know shit about recipe development. But yeah, it's like, just I think, and that's where maybe I thought we had moved past it, is because I felt like all those home brewers either finally got shut down or opened up their own brewery. And because the home brewing hobby just in general is dying. But it was kind of funny to me to see, back to my complaints about Untappd from 6 years ago are just as relevant or almost more relevant again.
So I'll say one more thing about this, and then unless Mike has anything else, we can move on. But I think it's actually worse than you think, Tim, because at least the people that were homebrewing had some knowledge, enough to be dangerous. Don't get me wrong, but I think what
Yeah.
happened is it used to be you got really into beer, and then you started like making it and learning a few things, and then you said stupid things to brewers, and you shouldn't have. But at least you learned something. Now it's I'm an expert because I know what all the rare beers are. I have no concept of how to brew a beer, how anything works, and I'm still
Sure.
going to tell you what to do. And I think that's it. It's literally moving on from like the hands-on people are evaporating for the people who I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will add real quick. I do know of some places before that have hired quote unquote like beer geeks to curate their beer lists for them at their establishments. Like, what, like, yeah, I bought this $500 slim of this beer from the small distributor because they've said that this is really high end stuff. I'm like, okay, and you're charging
Yeah.
$10 for a 10-ounce pour of it. Okay,
Well,
because that person told you this is super rare and great.
It's the same people that complain. I saw someone complaining about how why does no one make sours anymore? They were really popular and breweries got away from it. And I just kind of broke down the math of the number of you don't sell it in pints. And even if you did, here's the number of 12-ounce pours you would have to sell to be able to get it back. If your average small brewing system is 5-barrel, here's how many ounces that is. Here's how many pours a day you would have to sell just to be able to move through that in 6 months. And I think those guys that want to curate a list don't have any clue on, bar operations.
All right. I'll hop in here with my first one. And that is, and I feel like this was something definitely that Kevin was going to say anyway, so he can feel free to add his stuff in here at the end. Baseball's back. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite times of the year. Spring training is going on. Baseball is back. And I had the great privilege of taking my kids to their first game just a few days ago to Phillies Nationals game for spring training. We made signs saying our first Phillies game, and none of the stars were there. Like we had our rookie who is we want him to win the center field job. We had our platoon left fielder, backup catcher, and our utility man were there. So that was about it. My dad was along with us. We had a good time. It was a little colder than seasonably normal around this time. By the time game time started, we were like in the low 50s, so it was a little cold for baseball. And the kids enjoyed eating food and running around on the grassy area. Didn't pay much attention to the game, and then we had to wait 40 minutes for a hot dog. That was a lovely experience. But yeah, baseball is back. The Phillies, I love reading stuff about the Phillies, but the prevailing thought is that we're running it back, and no one's happy that there's been no big ads this offseason. We re-signed Kyle Schwarber, we re-signed JT Realmuto, we lost out on Bo Bichette, so not a whole lot has changed, and people are mad. They're mad that a 95-win team is coming back to play again this year, a team that has won the division 2 years in a row, 90-win teams. We've been to the playoffs 4 years in a row. I get it, man. I would have loved to see another big name added into the lineup, especially a right-handed power hitter. But those are the cards that we have been dealt thus far. We're hoping that Adolis Garcia can turn it around and maybe be better than Castellanos was. We'll see. Who knows? He turned into a bag of peanuts. Maybe Adolis Garcia is a bag of Cracker Jack. I don't know if that's better or worse. But I'm still stoked. Phillies baseball is like for real right around the corner. So I am very happy that we're playing ball again.
Well, Mike, I told you this, but hold on one second. So I had to clear my throat. I'm still dealing with just so much congestion. My son, his season's team is the Phillies, and they're using like the 1983 powder blue uniforms. I'm thrilled. I ordered a jersey because those are just the coolest uniforms in the world. So I will be a Phillies fan in some way, shape, or form this year. And just like I'm a Phillies fan whenever they're not playing the Tigers, because I want your team to win. But Jad and I are going to our first game, not this weekend. Well, actually, when you're listening to this weekend, we're going to see them play the Pirates in Lakeland. And yeah, I'm thrilled. I mean, happy to have Justin Verlander back, even if I have a feeling he's going to get injured in like the third game and not pitch at all the rest of the season. But it's cool enough to see a bunch of Justin Verlander jerseys get sold. And yeah, I love baseball. I'm really excited for Jad's season coming up. He's got like a murderer's row on this team. It's insane. There's a kid on his team. Jad is tall for his age. This kid looks like Jad's son, right? Like he's half Jad's size. And he hits the ball with the loudest ping I've ever heard from a little leaguer. And he drives the ball into the outfield every time. It is hilarious and amazing to watch. And there's like 6 kids on his team that can like hit the ball well. You're usually lucky to have 3. So I'm excited to see Jad. I'm excited to see Jad, my son, excited, having a great time. Wins and losses don't matter, but it is exciting to see them win.
We definitely have to come to one of the games so I can look like I'm truly cheering on your son's team this year, like because I'll wear my maroon Phillies hat. Yes, the Phillies do still wear the powder blues as their Thursday home game uniforms, and yes, they're one of my favorites ever. Are you at least a little bit pissed off that they fought Skubal so hard in arbitration only to pay Valdez more per year than Skubal?
No, because that's just what you do. They offered him more in arbitration than any pitcher had ever gotten, period. And they probably knew they were going to lose it. And Skubal doesn't seem to be upset about it. I'm upset they haven't re-signed him. The arbitration thing is in Detroit sports media, and I just follow a few podcasts here or there. It's a nothing story. It's really not that big of a deal.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Skubal's committed to the team. He was thrilled they signed why did I just miss it?
Valdez or
Valdez. I want to say Valverde.
Yeah.
Framber Valdez. Thank you very much.
Framber, yeah.
He was thrilled they signed Verlander and Framber Valdez. He's thrilled to add more talent to the team. The dude's a competitor. I don't think they're going to re-sign him at all. I think he's going to be a Dodger or a Yankee next year. But yeah, it's fine. Tim, you got anything to say about baseball this year?
I mean, things already didn't start off great for my Twins. So not necessarily. Lopez out with Tommy John surgery, season-ending injury before the season began. Good news on Joe Ryan. His MRI only showed inflammation, so he is expected to at least start the season, but not a great way to start. Excited that maybe Buxton can put together another mostly injury-free season, and Luke Keeschel is gonna be good at second base. The poll ads have really been desperate because season ticket sales are way down because everyone hates them. That they're literally doing like selection nights. It's like for an hour before the game, beers are like $2. It's like something stupid like that. Like I'm not even kidding. Like drastically reduced prices on beer before the game starts. Free ice cream for kids, and that's like on like select.
Past promotions like that have shown to be a fantastic idea for
White Sox, right?
Crowds. Yes.
Wasn't the famous White Sox game with dollar beers where they like set the field on fire or whatever it was?
I think it was the White Sox.
What I wanted to see what this beer deal was. I'm gonna look this up right now. Because it was something really dumb.
While you look that up, I think I texted you guys about this. I listened to a show called The Podcast with Michael Schur, the writer for many, many great television series, and Joe Posnanski, who is a baseball writer. And they referred to the Twins as having Buxton palsy disease because every talented person there always just has injury issues, like have some of the best talent ever, and they just can't stay healthy when they're on the Twins. And then if they go somewhere else, they're fine.
Oh yeah, for sure. 1,000%. Yeah. Yeah, so before first pitch of every Friday and Saturday home game in 2026, fans will be able to purchase a beer for just $2. The Twins announced on Thursday. $2 pregame beers will be available for season ticket holders before every single home game, Monday through Sunday. On Friday night specifically, the Twins are offering a pregame happy hour deal with $2 beers, hot dogs, and snacks. Free ice cream for kids 12 and under on Sundays. They are really, really, really desperate to
So
get people to
it's
show up.
specific to season ticket holders.
No, season ticket holders is Monday through Sunday, but Friday, Saturday is open. Anyone.
Oh,
gets
that's
that.
open to everyone.
Yeah,
Wow. So
that's
the weekend, start your fucking weekend off right on a Friday night. Like,
Yeah.
go buy the cheapest standing room only
I mean, that's what I do anyway. Yeah.
thing, ticket, and then
Yeah.
just get blitzed at a standing room bar before
mean-
the game even starts.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw what attendance was like at the end of last season. But like literally if you watched it on TV, which was the only way anyone watched a Twins game because no one was at the stadium, it looked like it was. I've seen better attendance at Little League games. Like it was that bad.
It's like an early days Marlins game.
Yeah, basically.
You mean current Marlins games?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
Get
I wanted
really
to try to give
drunk
them
and
I
then get-
actually don't know how well they're doing attendance wise anymore.
I think I've gone to a game every year, for the last several years, and no, it's always really sparsely populated. No, I like the idea of get really, really drunk and then voice your angry opinions about how much you hate the ownership. I think that's exactly what you want to give a bunch of very polite Midwesterners. Give them license to hate you more.
Yeah. Well, so
And then
Atten-
and then all it takes is one person to go, "Hey, you should go run on the field," and like, "Oh, don't you know I will?"
Well,
And
Mike,
that's when
Mike
the
and his
entertainment
accents.
starts.
Mike and his accents every time it's a banger.
last year attendance was so low. It was low since the pre-Target Field era when we had to go inside the big inflatable dome of the Metrodome to watch baseball, which was one of the most depressing things.
I was really hoping that
ever.
when Tim said that he was going to pause after like the attendance has been so low, and one of us could have jumped in and said, "How low
low
is it?"
is
Yeah, I don't have a good.
You don't give
punchline
enough
for that.
time for your joke to breathe there, Tim.
Well, when you have no punchline, that's what you do is you just walk right through. But yeah, it is really sad. The only thing I miss about the dome though is I miss a good dome dog. Just a cheap hot dog. I'm telling you, there's something different about the dome dog that the dogs they have at Target Field are great. There's just something about the cheap dome dog that I do miss.
Here's what a dome dog is to me. It's a 22-ounce beer that you drop your hot dog in, and then a shot over top of that, and you chug the whole thing down. Then eat the soggy beer hot dog afterward. That's a
works for-
dome dog.
If it works for Joey Chestnut.
All right. Have we exhausted baseball for the time being?
Sure.
Okay.
until your next last call.
So I did not have anything baseball related for my last call. So that's
Oh,
good. And
okay.
I have like 7 of them. So I'm just picking out the ones that are not coinciding with yours. Trying to get a good spread here. So this is something I've actually wanted to do a last call on for a long time. And just first and foremost, usually by last call, I'm pretty drunk and not nearly as coherent. So I feel like it's more middle of the show and I'm just somewhat coherent. So this is something I want to encourage people to do in general. And I feel like this is kind of a fundamental problem with, I'm going to say humanity. And that is every single person feels like they are the protagonist of the world. Like everyone's Luke Skywalker. Everyone's Neo in the Matrix. Everyone's whatever protagonist you love in a movie, right? Everything's supposed to be for you, right? When you are late for work, everyone needs to get out of your way Because don't they all know you're late for work? Right? You're not being an asshole. You're just late. So everyone needs to move out of the way. When you're in line at the grocery store and the line, and there's like 7 people in line, and then another register opens up, the people from the back of the line scamper like rats, even though these other people have been sitting there standing in line for a long time. When I'm there, and I'm not, yes, maybe this is a humble brag or whatever. If I'm number 6, I ask anyone in front of me, do you want to go first? You've been standing here, so you should go to the line next. It's not all or nothing. It's not all out because I'm the most important person in the world. And I think that's a quintessential thing of the politics in the United States. It's in the social policy. It is everyone is out for themselves. Everyone get their own. So what I'm trying to encourage people, and listen, I'm guilty of this too. I'm an inherently selfish human being. I have no other option but to be. I fail in this all the time. But if you and I and everybody can spend a little less time as the protagonist, just be the protagonist a little less often. Imagine you're not Luke Skywalker. You're just another person at the bar, right? When he walks in, is that Dagobah? No, Dagobah is where they find Yoda. That's on Tatooine. Sorry, you're just one of the characters in the menagerie of people in Tatooine. You're not Luke Skywalker. You're not Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're not the most important person in the world. All the other people are the protagonist in their story too. If we can just do that, not all the time, because you do have to kind of look out for yourself every now and then. You do have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for your position and the things that you care about. But it should not come in place of getting over on other people. To go back to baseball trades are not I win, you lose. They're supposed to be I win, you win. That's what a dealing is supposed to be. Don't tell the president that, but that's what deals are. Fundamentally, is that we're doing this because it's mutually advantageous. I'm not trying to win it. So I know you guys both fairly well, and I know the empathy and the sympathy you have for others, radiates out to others. And I know our listeners, you wouldn't still be listening to United We Drink if you didn't feel similarly. But just kind of pull yourself back every now and then and say, if I wasn't the protagonist in this movie, would I still think that this should go my way? Or would I realize, oh shit, I'm just one of 8 billion?
Kevin shot first, to go to a Star Wars Tatooine reference.
Okay, gotcha.
During the Christmas break, I think it was 2 days before Christmas, I went to a grocery store, had to buy some stuff for Christmas Day, and I had a good amount of stuff, so I'm going to a regular line. I'm not going through the express lanes. I'm loading the stuff onto the belt, and someone comes up behind me and takes one of the dividers and puts it down immediately behind where the last item that I put on was, with still a shopping cart full of stuff myself. And they start putting their things on, and I was like, hey, I'm not done, and they just don't look at me. So they put on a vase of flowers, and I think you can probably see where this is going to go, and some items. So I slowly try to push the stuff back to add more of my things onto the belt. And as they don't do anything, I just decide, push it all back, and vase of flowers goes down. All over the belt. And I don't give a fuck at this point. And they're like, whoa. I'm like, I wasn't even done loading my cart and you put this stuff down. You could have said something. I did. And you looked away from me. I apologized to the cashier. I'm like, I'm sorry that I got water all over the belt. They had to go get a new flower display thing. Find out they didn't have any more of that one, so I felt a little bit better. I inadvertently walked out with their pack of cold cut turkey. I don't know how that got into my bag because I definitely didn't get it, but it was one of those things of just like these people they think they're in a hurry. They're the only one who they think is in a hurry. I'm like, it's the holidays. Everyone thinks they're in a hurry. Like I've never been that mad at a grocery store line before. I've been agitated before. Obviously, people who come through the express lane with way more than 10 items, and here I am with one thing, and I'm just trying to go home. It sucks, but I've never yelled at anyone before, and it was the first time that I ever like blew up on someone just being like, main character syndrome in a grocery store. And yeah, I'm so guilty of it too, Kevin. Like you said, like we all do it, but like way more often than not, I just find like, all right, I'm just along on the ride in this person's life. They don't give a fuck about me. Like, I'm not asking you to necessarily give a fuck about me, but at least, acknowledge that we're all in this together and just zipper move through life happily.
I mean, I literally put on my phone every day at 2:00 as a reminder, Tim, shut up, dial it back. You're not better than anyone else. Like, there's a reminder that goes off on my phone every single day to help
That's
try to
amazing.
keep me in check. It
That's
doesn't
amazing.
always work, but I mean, I've done it because I've been a dick, and I'm trying to not be. Um, I have had main character syndrome, and I get that. And I still I even catch myself when I'm driving, and like reminding myself that sometimes people just sometimes you accidentally cut someone off, or sometimes you just get
It's so easy to do it in your car when you have like
distracted or whatever. Yeah,
tons of metal separating you from another human being.
yeah.
Like we tend to get more aggressive when there is that separation. You don't have that. You don't see that person as another person. You see it as a hunk of metal. But that's why people are always like, "Oh, say it to my face." Like, do something, because people are less inclined to do that because they're just afraid of confrontation, or even in this day, afraid of retribution for saying something. Like, I could have probably been punched by that person for what I did, like in response to their dickheadishness, because they're a person who is like that, who thinks that I am truly in the right. And I've now been wronged by this person who thought that I was not more important than them. It's just, yeah.
I mean, that's why I just don't like to go out in public. I certainly don't like to go in stores. I did lose my cool once Christmas shopping, where I went up and thanked someone for letting me shop in their store, and they gave me a puzzled look and said, "This isn't my store." And I said, "Then quit acting like it. There are other people here. Get out of the way." Didn't go over well. Not my finest moment, but I hate that the holidays stress me out, and the way that person was literally like cart perpendicular in the aisle, completely oblivious of the fact that anyone around them was also trying to browse the exact same section they were. But I should have learned to keep my cool. But the other thing that I was thinking about when you said is kind of the ramifications, Kevin, about like our current political climate, right? Actual legitimate like representatives in our Congress are accusing people like myself and my fellow Minnesotans of being paid because they don't understand what it means to have community. They don't understand what it means to have friends. They don't understand what it means to be empathetic of other people around them.
Empathy is weakness.
Yeah, to engage in anything where you might acknowledge that you're not the only most important thing ever, right? And so, well, they must be doing it because they're getting paid. We've infiltrated their signal chats and the high level comms. I'm like, yeah, like, and anyone who's ever fucking gone to a youth sport, like a 5th grade girls basketball tournament on a Saturday, understands the amount of coordination required PTA moms must be secret CIA operatives, if that's really what's going on. But again, it is that kind of that when you do have that main character syndrome, you do start to lose sense of community and sense of others, and it does permeate over into places where it matters even more than on the road or in the grocery store or wherever.
I think what you just said there, Tim, is really profound in phrasing. And I know you're taking that from a real world situation, but there's a big difference. And obviously, I feel like my political positions and my moral positions are justified, right? And every other person does too. But when I'm explaining my position here, and I'm thinking about others who do not share my moral position on something, it's really easy to go from, how is it possible that you have such little empathy for others that you believe X, Y, or Z? To, no one actually believes X, Y, or Z. It's not possible because my position's so right. And
Yeah.
it's really easy to, and I think one of the things that is kind of humbling when you look at others and their situations, we talked before we got on the podcast, I watch a lot of court, and it's just something I enjoy. I really like the legal system. I'm not sure if that's the right word. I'm interested in the legal system. And when you are on the outside looking in, it's really easy to say, oh, this person's a drug addict, they're a bad person. And then you hear about what built a person to be a drug addict, what built a person to be a negligent parent. And it's really, really easy for me in certain situations, not always, to go, there, but for the grace of God go I. Like, I was on a razor thin edge where I could have just been that person, but some good things happened to me in my life to bring me to this point. It is really easy to see myself in with a different mindset, in a different state of life, and those are my best moments. In my worst moments, I think everyone's a moron, and I hate them, and I really do. I'm really furiously angry at other people for not agreeing with me or for doing things that I think are selfish. But then I realize, oh, they just got there through their own means. But when it tips over into that, you can exist, right? You don't really support immigration reform and empathy towards others. You just hate our side. You're just anti-American. No, I just have a very different position from you for this, and I came to it through very reasonable means. And I think if you thought about it a little bit more, you might be persuaded. But that's not a sexy, seductive position. It's much easier to go, Tim Johnson, you are a paid actor. You just are. You have to be, because you don't agree with me, because it's not possible that anyone doesn't agree with me. And that is bordering on mental illness and sickness.
Oh, absolutely. And I wish I were a paid actor. George Soros owes me a fuck ton of money for all the protesting that I've done, and I've got bills to pay. So pay up here, whoever's behind, whether it's Soros or whoever else. I'm told from the infiltrated signal chats.
I mean,
and the coordinated effort.
when are you guys changing the name of the state to Minnesoros? I mean,
well, there's a city here that just voted on a resolution to go back to the flag that we changed 2 years ago because they decided that the new flag is too woke. 2 years later, they decided the flag is too woke, and so they've made a motion to go back to the old flag that basically represented us trampling on the rights of indigenous people. So, super healthy.
Well, I just use my trusty random number generator because I think we should change up the order every time.
Yeah.
I think on
okay.
this round, it's now Mike, Tim, me. I'm still third. That's fine. But Mike, you're
Okay.
first this time.
Okay. All right. So a couple weeks ago, a band that I have loved for many years, put out a new album. The band is called Converge. They are a hardcore metal, whatever you want to call them, band that has been around for since the late 90s, many, many years. And they have put out a ton of albums, a ton of EPs. They are they're one of the most influential hardcore bands of all time. And I was listening to their new album called Love Is Not Enough. The that titled track opens up the album and is just everything that band has always been. And I think every time Converge puts out a new album, I am like, how the hell has this band reinvented themselves in certain ways? Like, they have progressed. They could be a very spastic, fast band. They still put out tons of those songs, but they have little slow songs and ballads in almost every album that they put out that sounds like a progression that you would expect from them from album to album, while still remaining so goddamn quintessentially Converge. This band is just mind-boggling to me, how they have been able to crack the code, I feel like, for what a lot of this type of music falls victim to. And not by any fault necessarily of the bands, but progression is usually a mark of death. As you have changed, you've sold out. And bands who want to try to do something a little different for an album, if it doesn't sound like the last album or the last couple albums that were what really brought you fans, you get called a poser, you get called a sellout, you get called so many different names. I don't know what it is about Converge that has been able to avoid that. That every album definitely sounds better than the last one. They have differences, they have changes, but holy shit, it still somehow feels very Converge, and it sounds like early Converge at that. I mean, they've had the same lineup. It's not the original lineup, but this is the same lineup they've had since the early 2000s. They're having fun. They're doing stuff that they love. And I mean, if you're into punk, hardcore, metal, go check out Converge's new album, Love Is Not Enough. It's on all of those streaming platforms and shit like that. And check out everything else they've ever done if you dig that, because you will love them. They are one of the best hardcore bands of all time. And I hope that they just keep on doing it, because they fucking are great at it. And my main thing about this is just that maybe give people a chance with trying new things and in music. So and everything in life, but more so, I hate that way people look at bands, is like, if an album is different than the last one, it sucks. You can enjoy new and good and just think that, man, everyone progresses. So that's,
the example that I always come up with for this, and part of this is just because they were so prolific at putting out album after album after album. But the Beatles went from Love Me Do, released in 1963 as their first single, to their final album of Let It Be in 1970. 7-year span. You think about, like, there are bands to me that if you told me an album came out in 2019, I would have just thought, oh, that's their last album. Like, I would have thought it would have been like that big of a deal, right? But the progression from Love Me Do through Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper and the White Album and all of the things that they did, you go from,
I think that was a 30-40 year span.
You would think it was the 40-year span between Love Me Do to Helter Skelter to like all of that was so much.
But at the same time, it sounds like them. You're like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's the Beatles for sure.
And I know it feels kind of like cliche to go back on them, but it's so important to me because I feel like sometimes people want to write them off because they were kind of the first band to really do that whole massive transformation 17 times over and still have success over and over and over again. But yeah, you are allowed to evolve and change your style. Now, sometimes, the one that I always laugh at was Sugar
Just without the
Ray.
makeup.
No. Sugar Ray was actually like like a hardcore, like a punk core, kind of like a skate
They're
core
a punk
band.
band, yeah.
Yeah, and then
They were in Mrs. Doubtfire as like a
and
punk band.
yeah, and then immediately they're doing every morning there's a halo like
Yeah.
the progression that they made, or like Kid Rock, his first album, like Grits Sandwiches for Breakfast, was this Detroit style rock, and now suddenly he's a country artist. Like
His first album
with the
wasn't
rap
rock,
core
it
in
was
between.
rap. No, it was
Or
straight
rap, I mean.
hip-hop.
That's what I mean.
Yo-
Yeah. It was
Yeoman in
that's
the
what I
There's
meant.
Valley.
new metal, like at
Garbage, right?
best, yeah.
Well,
No,
no.
I'm not
Grits
talking
Sandwiches
about
for
Without a
Breakfast was
Cause.
100% straight up hip hop.
Oh, okay.
No.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
was it. I thought you were referring to like a line that he said.
No.
No.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
of Devil Without a Cause.
Yeah, second album, Grits Sandwiches for Breakfast, was straight up hip hop. And it's sad that I know that about him at all.
Garbage person.
Garbage version, garbage music. But it's like, so there
But
are
I'm trying to be
examples
empathetic, so he's still a garbage
Yeah.
person. Sorry.
Yeah, no, there's still like shitty music transformation. So not every music transformation is good. We'll be honest there. But there was. I'm trying to think of like Filter was a band in the 90s that went through kind of Hey Man, Nice Shot and Picture or whatever that one was called. Like those are two very, very different things. There was that one band, what the hell were they called? Finger 11, that had like One Thing and Paralyzer, which are two completely different genres. Like we allowed that at one point for bands to explore. We allowed the Red Hot Chili Peppers go from freaky style to progressively worse to whatever the fuck they are today. Freaky style to Mother's Milk to Blood Sugar Sex Magic to One Hot Minute, and then the cliff that fell off at Californication, and the terrible path they've been on ever since. Like we've allowed
Every song has to
these
be about
bands to evolve.
California.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And also suck.
And no distortion ever allowed again.
If it weren't for Chad Smith, I think I would have. But yes, but like you have allowed, and we allowed. I remember when Eddie Vedder didn't want to release Better Man because he was worried it was too poppy. Turned out to be one of their biggest hits, right? It is nice when people can explore. I think the challenge is, where is the authenticity in the exploration, right? I think that is what I think that's why I make fun of Kid Rock, because I feel like his exploration and genre shifting is not authentic. It's done, maybe I'm cynical about him.
Strategic.
But I think for him,
for sure.
yeah, it's right. Same with Sugar Ray, right? Like, where's the punk band guy that's going to be hosting Extra or Entertainment Tonight or whatever the fuck he was hosting there for a while, right? Like, but then again, like you look at Snoop Dogg at the Olympics, and I was like, 1996 Snoop Dogg would hate 2026 Snoop Dogg. So, NWA, Ice Cube, who messed around and got a triple-double, would not love all of his "Are We There Yet" shitty movies he made. like some people's arcs, some people's arcs are selling out. So I do get that.
In fairness, Today Was a Good Day was off of The Predator and was not an NWA, but a solo Ice Cube album. I'm not trying to
No, I know.
fact check you in real
He
time.
gets to respond now. Yeah.
No, it's I knew it the second it came out of there. I just meant more that same era.
No, you're completely right. And listen, I thought when Mike started this one, I was like, "Oh, Mike, you had the totally like comment proof, like a typical last call in the fact that like I don't know who this band is and I have no idea what you're talking about." And then Tim took it where exactly it's supposed to go, which is like talking about different like transformations. I was being cynical. I was like, I got nothing to say to this. And Tim had wonderful things to say, a lot of things I agree with. And I would be remiss if I did not talk about Bruce Springsteen, because Springsteen went from, the cynical version of Springsteen is like first he wanted to be Bob Dylan, then he wanted to be Van Morrison, and then he did Born in the USA, an anthem song, and then no one knows what he did after that, because that was when he kind of fell out of the spotlight in a lot of ways, even though he did Streets of Philadelphia and did some other really wonderful songs in the 90s. I'm a huge Springsteen fan. My dad's a Springsteen fan. Some of the best nights of my life spent at Springsteen concerts. But in reality, this is the person who did Nebraska as a follow-up album to Born in the USA. A wholly acoustic album, in my opinion, some of his best work. This is the man who did Ghost of Tom Joad, maybe my favorite Springsteen album, which is a folksy album based on The Grapes of Wrath, a novel, which is just brilliantly written and beautiful in every way, shape, and form. Someone who did an album called Tunnel of Love, which was poppy in its own way, but deeply depressing and sad. And all these albums coming off the back of his biggest commercial success. And that's a person who has evolved on his own terms. It never seems like he was chasing a trend so much as just being who he was. And listen, his last several albums, I haven't listened to them. I mean, I think the last Springsteen album I really listened to, I think it was called Magic, which was a very good album. Very good album. I haven't really listened to a lot of his stuff since then, which is probably now 20 years ago. But someone who stayed the course, did his own thing, and continuously made incredible music for 30, 40 years, whatever it is now. It's great.
I'm not even a listener of this music, but I would think like a modern day version kind of this is Taylor Swift. Like everyone who I know who listens to Taylor Swift talks about like the metamorphosis of her like sound throughout the years. Like every album is a good bit different from the last one. And like I guess I did see like people talking about like, oh, maybe this last album's not exactly like my favorite of hers, but it's still a good album. But like everyone's always talking about how she has reinvented herself from each album to each album. And while everything like anytime I hear a song, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely a Taylor Swift song. Like not even ones that sound more country or more pop or more dance or more rock. Like I'm like, yeah, okay, fits her definitely. Yeah, they're different, but yeah, that's a Taylor Swift song for sure. Like I can see her doing that. Yeah, it's I think where Tim was going, it's a tough thing to tell sometimes because there's so many people that the sincerity in it, like people who are changing for truly like a marketing standpoint to try to make more money, or people who are actually looking to be experimental and try something different. Like there people who are bad at judging that shit always, and there's always going to be people who call you a fucking sellout, but like the authenticity in how you do it usually shines through for the best artists, like the people who are really good at what they're at being musicians, like way better than anything I would ever be able to do. Like when you see that difference and you can tell like, all right, yeah, you're trying something new here. You're doing a fantastic job of it. And you're not doing it for the likes. You're not doing it for the streams. Like it, you can tell, and like I'm glad that you said that, Tim.
So it could just be because last night I rewatched for the umpteenth billionth time Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping, which if you have not watched that, you should. It's
I have never seen it.
Okay, so it's a Lonely Island thing, and the whole premise is that those three guys are in a Beastie Boys esque group called the Style Boys, and then Andy Samberg's character uh, uh, becomes kind of the standout. It's almost like the Justin Timberlake. He becomes a standout, which is funny because Justin Timberlake is in the movie too. Um, and then gets too full of himself and goes and chases trends and numbers and all that stuff. And then, at the end, there's a bit like you should watch it. It's a lot of great cliches, a lot of really funny lines. Tim Meadows, underappreciated Saturday Night Live alum, has some great lines. Chris Redd is brilliant in it, but it does kind of follow the whole like, you know, trying to figure out when someone sold out. So it's actually probably fairly poignant for being a completely ridiculous Lonely Island movie.
I haven't seen the movie either, but I always just thought it was a typical crappy comedy from that era and didn't have any kind of thought put to it. So that makes
I think
that
you both should watch it. I think you both would appreciate it.
so on that note, I'm gonna be the police here. I think it's time to move on to Tim's second last
Okay.
call.
Okay. My second last call. Um. So trying not to spend every one of my last calls talking about the events of the last 2 months in Minneapolis. One thing that I do want to say as someone who is a former uh evangelical, someone who's not a believer now, but still understands the things that were so attractive to me about the church before. I don't recognize it right now, and I think all I really want to do is just make a plea to the evangelicals that I know better, right? So my sister's church, where her pastor is throwing a hissy fit about a church being protested here in Minnesota, but has said absolute dick about what is happening to the immigrants in this community, that will quote the words of Paul and the words of whoever, but will not quote the words of Jesus in Matthew, where he says to love the immigrant. That these churches that spend all this time on, here's our statement of belief, and their statement of belief will might say something about like the age of the earth. It might say something about marriage being between one man and one woman. They might even get into transgender issues on their websites. They have all of these things, right? Whether it's in their statement of belief or what their resources that are focused on their website. I don't see those websites having statements of how to treat the unhoused, how to treat the sick, how to treat the hungry, and I don't see them doing that. Now, are there churches out there that are doing that, that are trying to address that? Certainly. Were there clergy that were sitting and got arrested at the airport here in the Twin Cities for praying as a form of protest for the way immigrant communities are being treated? Absolutely. But I know there's people with good hearts that are going to churches who believe that they have to because of tradition. If you believe that the words of Jesus in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the words of Jesus, why are you spending so much time with the words of Paul? Why are you spending so much time worried about abortion and gay marriage and transgender rights and all these things that Jesus didn't talk about in those books? Why are you spending any time worried about that? Because you've gotten caught up in a culture war, and I know that morally you believe something is better. So what I'm doing right now is making a plea to those people that you know better. Be better. Whether or not the non-believers that I know listen to the words of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, of the words of Jesus in the apostles, or the epistles, I think we can all still agree that the idea of loving your neighbor and caring for the sick, caring for the hungry, those are values. When we hear about these people saying, "Oh, well, we were founded as a Christian nation, and so we have to follow the 10 Commandments." First of all, the 10 Commandments are in the Old Testament. They're not New Testament. Second of all, literally 0 of them are part of our laws. But third, the most Christ part of that Christian part is loving thy neighbor. Where were you when I was hungry and you did not feed me? Where were you where I was cold and you did not clothe me? Or like literally, the Gospels are completely littered with Jesus talking about treating lesser people. Then he says it's harder for it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. And all we have is a bunch of wealth worshiping, immigrant hating people more concerned about abortion as a key issue, even though if you go back 70 years, the same churches that are anti-choice now were actually pro-choice back then. But let's ignore history for a second. But you're worried about the wrong things. I really wish that my believing friends could just care about other people. It makes me sad to know the number of Christians I know that are supporting ICE in these times, that are supporting pulling back on SNAP benefits. And today we learned that we're losing Medicare benefits in Minnesota because we have a president with a tiny ego who feels threatened by Ilhan Omar and is really mad that us Minnesotans stood up to him, and we're going to lose those Medicare benefits. And those Medicare benefits aren't going to go. The immigrants are the ones going to be hurt by it. Real, like, needing people are going to be hurt by this. You're hurting your own people by this stuff. Just fucking live up to the things you say you're going to. That's my rant.
I am really tempted to let that be a traditional last call, because I don't know what else I could add to it. I want to talk about what you were talking about forever, because I think about it every day. Every day of my life, I think about what you're talking about, loving thy neighbor, being an atheist myself, being a person who comes from a place of belief, grew up in belief, went to catechism, did the communion and all that kind of stuff, found more truth in non-belief, but wants anyone to stand up to the principles they say they believe in and actually have a moral compass that is closer to the best of what the New Testament talks about. I guess I'm talking over what you said. I'm sure I really want to add something, and I don't think I can. I think you did a really good job with that, Tim.
Thank you.
I mean, to the people who are new here, you have 3 atheists on this show. I think Phil would probably be the closest thing to a Christian who has ever been on this show, and I don't really even know where Phil stands anymore. And Phil, I'm not trying to call you out, but you are a very good progressive person.
I just got a text from Phil. He says, "Fuck you! Stop talking about my religion."
I feel like just take beer out of the equation. Probably some of the first things that Kevin and I bonded over talking was atheism, and talking about Hitchens, talking about Dawkins, talking about Dennett, talking about Stephen Fry, and there's so much of that new atheism movement from the early 2000s, and just the moral stance of of being moral without having religion involved in your lives, because like there's always a verse that you can throw back at them, like you said, Tim. Like I was just even thinking of like turning the other cheek. Okay, you don't like what the gay and transgender communities or whatever are doing to you. Turn the other cheek. Be the better man. Like what? It just, there's always something that you can throw back at them from those books, and it's just like I don't try to turn anyone to my side of thinking. I would love it if people would just go back to the community based aspect of religion, and just like being able to get together with your local community, the people who you all believe in these things with, and celebrate it once a week, twice a week, however a week that you want to do this. And if you want to lead your lives like that, by all means do so, as long as it's not hurting other people. And we did that fine for seemingly a bit as a majority. I know there's always stuff going on. I'm not trying to say that, hey, everything's been peaceful. Like, religion's never been persecuting people. No, like we know that happens, but like, man, I wish it was just more of a community focused thing of faith. Like, just trust your faith. Don't make other people have to reaffirm your faith to you by being like, you got to do what I do because I do it. Like, you need to do it. Like, follow your faith. Have faith.
And be fucking honest. There's no way that Donald Trump is in any way anointed by God to do goddamn bull fuck of anything. That is the thing that drives me up the wall, is how much the religious right has embraced Donald Trump.
Yeah, they've been waiting for like that candidate for however many decades. Like, we need that candidate who's going to finally get through to us. And they're like, yeah, close enough. And then he did the most damage, and like, yeah, I guess we could just gotta embrace it. He's not good at this, but he's not really us, but he did the things we wanted, right? So yay.
Donald Trump pissed off the Pope. I mean, I don't know. I know there's a lot of people. You can be a Christian without being a Catholic, obviously, but the Pope is supposed to. I mean, this is nonsense, by the way. And listen, Tim, I'm sorry. I'm just not always on the Pope's side. One of my favorite songs of all time is "Fuck the Motherfucking Pope" by Tim Minchin. I'm not saying the Pope actually is speaking for God, but with the religious doctrine, what he says is God's word. And he has come out against Donald Trump, and Catholics are like, yeah, we'll take Trump.
Pope. J.D. Vance is a Catholic and thinks that the Pope is too woke. Like, then why do you call yourself a Catholic? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, maybe they should protest that form of Christianity and form a different sect of Christianity and protest to it. Maybe they should call it anti-Christian or something like that.
One thing that drives me up the wall is whenever I hear these guys say, no, you can't protest. And I'm like, you are a Protestant. You are a Protestant. You are a Protestant. Do you not get that? You are a Protestant. You are, yes, protesting. Oh, the church is no place to protest. Really? Tell that to Martin fucking Luther, right? Tell it to Jesus, who overturned the tables of the money changers in the church, saying that his father's house was not a place for this. Like, the idea that these protesters in Minnesota are just some terrible, because they by the way, they were Christians that were protesting. They weren't atheists protesting at a Christian church. They were Christians protesting at a Christian church, saying, you being the leader of ICE and sitting here on Sunday preaching the word of God, then when Jesus literally said to love the immigrant, and you're doing the opposite. We disagree with that from a theological standpoint. And so we are protesting as Protestants in this church, and people are throwing a fit about it. Like, come on.
I think you said it all, guy. I mean, Tim, like I said,
Yeah.
I think your words are spot on. I think that the sentiment is shared by all three of us here. I am going to jump in and I'm going to
Yes.
do my next last call. But before I do that, I am drinking. You guys know by this time that I am a Lazy Dog Beer Club member. I am drinking a beer by a brewery called Belching Beaver. And no one
Oh
can see
yeah.
this except you guys. I hate this name. I really hate this name. I don't like the logo. This is a chocolate coffee vanilla lavender golden stout. Everything about this beer is what I would hate. And I like this beer. And I like this beer. I everything about me is telling me not to like this, and I'm enjoying it. And sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised in the world. That's not my last call, but I want to make sure to point that out
Do you
just
know
because
where
you think
side note side note, do you know where Belching Beaver is based out of?
no,
California, right?
Yeah, I say where would you guess with a name like Belching Beaver?
I have no idea. The
I
Pacific
would think
Northwest?
somewhere like I would think Pacific Northwest or like the Midwest, right? It sounds like a Wisconsin or a Michigan type of thing.
San
San fucking
Diego.
Diego.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm
The
just saying,
belching
don't
whale's vagina.
be willing to be proven wrong, be willing to change your opinion, and actually be honest with yourself. I thought I would hate
Be
this, and I'm
willing to
enjoying it.
beaver.
Be willing to beaver. Change the name of your brewery, guys. Okay, so I'm trying to. I actually had something that would go so perfectly with Tim's last call, but I know also I'm not sure how many of these are going to get to. I'm going to kind of bring it a little bit more into the pop culture, fun side of this. I have been watching Kids in the Hall and just on Peacock. I love Kids in the Hall. I grew up on Kids in the Hall, and I haven't watched the actual show in years. I owned all the DVDs. They're all lost to time now, but I had watched the show since the first run of the show, since like reruns on Comedy Central and things of that nature. But I love the Kids in the Hall, and I need a show to watch at the end of the night to wind down after my run and stuff like that. And I find myself loving every aspect of this show just as much as the first time I watched it, and just finding it to be brilliant. The five guys in the Kids in the Hall were absolutely brilliant. They were children when they were making this show, and the cultural touchstones and the jokes and the sharpness of everything is amazing. Now, I have not let Jed watch Kids in the Hall. There is some stuff that can be appropriate. There's some stuff that's really not appropriate for my 8-year-old son. But I have showed him videos of the head crusher. I'm crushing your head. I've shown him the Eradicator, right? The squash player. A few little clips here or there. And every now and then he plays a pickleball with his mom and he'll go, the Eradicator, and he'll hit the ball. And I love that. My son's 8. And I got to thinking, one of the best one of the original great sketch comedies shows that the Kids in the Hall built off of was Monty Python. I was exposed to Monty Python around the time I was 8. Now, I really didn't start watching it till I was a little bit older, probably in 6th, 7th grade, but I knew of Holy Grail and some of the other Python stuff early on, even if I never really watched the show. And I was thinking, man, me showing Jad a few Kids in the Hall clips, what's like the cultural, like, what's the timeline when I was 8 of how long ago that media was? So I did a little research. Monty Python and Flying Circus first season was in 1969. Well, I was 8 years old in 1989. I don't know if you guys are great at math. That's 20 years. 20 years between when that was first run and when I first saw it. And when I first saw it, it looked like an old TV show. I loved it, but it looked like an old show. It looked like an old piece of media. The Kids in the Hall's first season was in 1988. Showing Jad that now in 2026 makes it 38 years old. Nearly twice the age of when I would have been first exposed, or around then, first exposed to Monty Python. That is mind-boggling to me. showing Jad a piece of me that's 40 years old and saying, this is something I would, really enjoyed and whatnot. Now, I'm not saying this to make you guys feel old or any of us to feel old. I'm doing this kind of to prove a point. I'm going to give you one more example. My dad, when he was growing up, or at least a show that he loved when he was a kid, was a show called Gigantor. It was about a space-age robot. Gigantor, Gigantor. Sorry about that. But that's all I remember about this show. But I remember my dad showing me a few of these. I think he had it on a video when I was growing up, and showed me this was like a show that I watched when I was a kid. He showed me that show in and around about 1989. That show was made in 1963, or 26 years. It was 26 years old. That would be the equivalent of me showing Jad Dora the Explorer. My cultural touchstone, one of my favorite cartoons of all time, was Count Duckula. I loved Count Duckula. My dad loved Count Duckula. It was just brilliant. I want to show Jad Count Duckula right now. 38 years old. 38. That show that my dad showed me that was black and white and just seems so outdated was only 26 years old. The show I want to show Jad is 38 years old. Now, these are all these kind of like, oh my God, can you imagine these time comparisons? That's not what I'm getting at. We are convinced that the nostalgic things that we loved are everything. They're perfect. And the new things are not as good. Nothing is as good. The music's not as good. The TV's not as good. The cartoons are not as good. We want to expose our kids to amazing things. I've just showed you that out of the two things that I just mentioned, I love Monty Python to this day. Fawlty Towers. I love stuff that I was exposed to when I was young. I still think it's brilliant. But some of it didn't stand the test of time, didn't really kind of pique my interest. I didn't follow up on it. Stuff I'll show Jad, some of it he'll love. Like, I'm crashing your head. He'll love that. But he might not love other things that I expose him to. He might not like Count Duckula or Danger Mouse or Transformers, right? Does that mean he has no taste? No. Time marches on. Our need for nostalgia, our love of nostalgia, is pinned in the idea that things were better back in the day. It's tied to the ideas of being young. It's tied to the idea, the rose-tinted glasses that we have towards that time. The challenge for all of us should be to have our kids exposed to older, incredible media, but to expose ourselves to modern media. To give them the concession that the thing that they're going to watch is amazing. If my dad had said, well, it's Kids in the Hall, it's modern, it's crap, then I would have missed out on something amazing. We have to progress and understand that brilliant things are still being created. We can definitely look back and go, oh my God, I'm so fucking old. And this feels so weird to see that these time periods have lapsed. But overall, I don't have to love every YouTube video that Jad watches. I don't have to understand it. But I should be trying to, in some level, get it or see what he enjoys about it. Because there is intrinsic value and there's brilliant things being made right now. And just closing yourself off and saying that everything was better in the past ties into exactly what Tim was talking about. Ties in exactly to this idea that, and what I talked about earlier about being the protagonist and everything that I love is the best. It is statistically not. It just isn't. Time marches on. We all get older. I want to show my son Count Duckula. And if he doesn't like it, I'm not going to say, you're an idiot with no taste. I'm going to say, yeah, I just showed you an old cartoon that looks really weird to you, and we're going to move on and talk about something else.
Here. I've tried to watch old episodes of Thundercats and realized that cartoon was actually dog shit. As much as
It was
I like
bad.
to pretend like it was a great,
Yeah, it was bad.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Totally unrelated. But similar thing is I went down a rabbit hole today. Jacob Dylan from the Wallflowers, Bob Dylan's son, right? One headlight. Bringing Down the Horse came out in 1996. 1996. Well, Bob Dylan was born in 1941, so Bob Dylan was 55 when Jacob Dylan's band's debut album, Bringing Down the Horse, came out in 96, 97. So he was 55, 56 years old when One Headlight became a hit. Jacob Dylan right now is 56 years old. So he is right now as old as Bob Dylan was. And, for me, like, someone who grew up and like went to high school and college in the 90s. And so I was, high school, college when One Headlight came out. Like, to me, I loved Bob Dylan, but it felt like it was like from a previous era, right? A whole different era. But I certainly don't treat the Wallflowers or One Headlight like that, and so it's very funny to me to just see kind of that same congruence of Jacob Dylan is now just slightly older than his dad was when One Headlight came out, and some of that I think there is a time compression that has happened, in the internet era where things that were hit songs 20 years ago are more relevant today than like a song from 1969 and 1989, just because of they weren't there was just so much rapid change that was going on. Like I said, the Beatles went through an entire evolution in less than a decade. But B, like the use in media and commercials and all of that was completely different. Whereas to now, these old songs are used in TikTok videos and they have a different shelf life, and it's a very different kind of life cycle of songs and media. So that one is funny. But yeah, no, the idea that we need to expose ourselves. Your words, not mine. I just realized when I said that out loud, that sounds terrible. I shouldn't be exposing myself to anything, or anyone. But I do genuinely appreciate that, because like I love that to me, I don't even share as like Mike and I have talked about. It's like I was really excited when Lily could pick out Iggy Pop. But like Lily and I also we did this thing the other day at dinner. We were out grabbing pizza and she was like, "Hey, how about this? You just have to say Beatles lyrics, and then the other one has to guess the name of the song, right?" And like she's not doing "Love Me Do" or "Come Together." Like she's doing like a day in the life. "Nowhere Man" for No One are her favorite Beatles songs. Like she's got fucking taste. I love it.
That's
right?
cool.
But then also her favorite band is 21 Pilots, and so I've learned to kind of learn more about 21 Pilots and embrace that and get that, because I don't want to be. One thing I've always been afraid of, like, no offense to my parents, but watching them say, "Oh well, that's not for us. We don't do that," is like watching kind of society pass them by. And I really, and I've had this conversation with them very recently, is how much when you let society pass you by because you didn't engage in social media, or you didn't engage in this, or you didn't engage in that, or is that you missed the arc that brought us to where we are at today in our country, right? And so when my mom gets really mad about Trump and what's going on, or when my mom literally just like a month ago learned what Citizens United was, like, it's like this is the price that you have to pay for not being engaged, right? And so to me, not only is there a don't hold on to nostalgia, but I think there's also another aspect there, which is if you you don't have to be beholden to the zeitgeist, but if you ignore it, ignore it at your own peril.
I truly believe that right now we are in the best time ever for entertainment in ever. Like, we have some of the best athletes in the history of forever, some of the best musicians in the history of forever, some of the best movies and television show actors, writers, producers, everyone in the history of forever is all happening right now. Like, I'm not saying that everything is, but some of the best stuff is always coming
I was
out.
gonna say, did you see this year's NBA dunk competition? Because that is not the best thing I've ever seen ever. That was terrible.
No, what I'm talking about is that, like, all of these athletes that we have in all these sports now are so much better than the athletes of 20, 30 years ago. Like, even the ones who aren't drugged up are so much more phenomenally better. But
Just Trout and Ohtani alone are two generational talents that are better than anyone I remember growing up.
And Trout is despite that is still looked at as the big what if. Like, what if he didn't get hurt so much? But Ohtani is the best fucking baseball player in the history of the game. End of sentence. Like, there's so much television and movies and stuff from my childhood that I love and I adore. But I look at stuff that has come out in the last 5 to 10 years that trounces that. And, like, the kids shows that some of my kids watch are absolute garbage. Bluey is one of the best children's television shows that I have ever seen. It kicks the living hell out of any television show that I saw from my childhood. And we have rewatched like old Sesame Street episodes on HBO. And then I'm like, okay, some of this has aged well, some of this hasn't. I'm like, holy fuck, Bluey means more to me now than Sesame Street ever did.
Mike, I'm gonna jump in here right now. I'm just sorry.
Yeah.
First and foremost, more modern Sesame Street is better than the Sesame Street that I grew up on. And if I had Bluey when I was a kid, I would be a better person.
More modern Sesame Street is, with the exception of Elmo. The proliferation of Elmo was the biggest problem with Sesame Street.
They
was
pulled back on that a
very
little.
heavily pushed. Yes.
They pulled back on that in the years that I was watching with Jad. Yes, he was still heavily featured, but he wasn't the main focus. But I'm sorry, Mike. I know you're on a roll, but I just had to say that because I want to be a better person, and watching Bluey would have made me a better person.
Did you just Kanye his Taylor Swift to say that Beyonce had the better album? Or the better music video? Is that what you just did? I'm gonna let you finish. Beyonce.
No, he's the drummer from Rage, getting on top of the structure and just sitting up there while I accept my award. So, like, I honestly believe, like, some of my favorite TV shows of all time, like, at this point, are things that I've probably seen in the last 10 years. Like, the return of Twin Peaks is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And, like, people like to call it, like, an 18-hour movie because that's kind of what it was. FX has put out, like, consistently some of the best television shows I've ever seen in my life, with, like, Atlanta topping that list. Reservation Dogs is incredible. It's Always Sunny continues to somehow defy sitcom odds and put out amazing stuff every year. Like Schitt's Creek, like I'm way from FX, but Schitt's Creek, an amazing show. The Good Place, amazing show. Like, there's just so much amazing stuff being done by talented artists of all different types nowadays. Some of the best photography is being done now today. Some of the best painting is being done now today. It's like, we don't have to say that the stuff from our past didn't exist and didn't influence us and isn't considered, like, the best of its time and place, and we can cherish that forever. But I mean, I like to think I am a pretty forward thinking person with entertainment and art, and I'm always looking at evolving and not trying to think too much in the past. Nostalgia is fine, nostalgia is fun, but nostalgia shouldn't influence the direction of true artistic vision. And like, I I mean, I'm getting flashbacks to Kevin and I's wrestling podcast because we always talked about how nostalgia is the fucking evil of that art form and that entertainment, and just trying to bring back old racist fucks all the time to pop a fucking rating. Like, it's not the way to do things. Like, trust in art, trust in artists, and we will get fun, amazing, fantastic stuff. Like, look at what Jordan Peele has done to the horror industry. Like, and it has spawned like amazing new horror people who have always been there, but he has given them the access of being different and unique and not just rewriting the same fucking three slasher flicks over and over and over again. Like, we are truly always in the best time for art and entertainment.
So, what one thing? Sorry, total tangent, but I was just reminded of one of my favorite tweets of all time. When we were talking about baseball, was this one uh, by
Sweet.
Matt
I'm a,
by Matt Tomic. This is in 2021 though, but it's every time I see an Angels highlight, it's like Mike Trout hit 3 home runs and raised his average to 528, while Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle of the 1921 Akron Groomsmen as the Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3.
That's good. If you guys will allow
Brilliant
me,
on so many levels.
if you guys will allow me, I'll wrap this part of the conversation up, and I'll propose this too. Before I do that, we're getting a little bit long here. We could all do one more because I know I at least had one more locked and loaded. I know Mike did it. We could make it kind of quick, or we could just wrap it up. It's up to you, Mike. You're the man here, but just throwing that out there. But I do want to say the last word on this is that there was a Sopranos episode where Tony Soprano was talking to Paulie down in Florida, and Paulie's talking about all the old times, and Tony says, I think something to the effect of like, "Remember when is the lowest form of human conversation." And first and foremost, I will tell you this: I will talk with the two gentlemen here about things that I remember from 20 years ago, like The Simpsons, like Mitch Hedberg jokes, like all the things that we share culturally. That's not the lowest form of human conversation. That's something that connects us. These are webs that connect us and the things that we love. But it's important to have that quote in your mind because it won't connect you with everyone. And if you get too bogged down in that, you miss so much of what's going on around you. So it is absolutely fine to enjoy nostalgia and share it with the people who share it with you. But if you use that to represent everything about yourself, if you find yourself going, it was better back in the 50s in the US, and you ignore all the fucking systemic racism and all the misogyny and all that kind of stuff, just because you like the idea of Leave It to Beaver, you're the problem. So don't get so bogged down in nostalgia that it warps your sense of reality. Let it be the spice of life that we get to use to connect ourselves to people who enjoy The Kids in the Hall and The Simpsons and Mitch Hedberg.
I just heard Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days being played the entire time you were saying that.
Not my favorite Springsteen song, but I love me some Glory. Anything off Born in the USA, I'm going to enjoy.
But again, that's also the idea of people thinking that the Glory Days are the good thing when they're not. So yeah. So yeah,
was that the end of the rotation there?
I think we're through.
Okay, so I mean, I think that we can get through one more each. So Kevin, you want to run that? I mean, I feel like you should go first because you haven't. But
oh, look, it's me. I'm first, and then Mike, and then Tim. Okay.
okay,
The thing that I wanted to talk about that Tim kind of, like I said, that tied into Tim's thing is James Tallarico. We talked about him briefly, I think, on the last episode. This has in everything we talked about this in this episode of We Drink. I'm an atheist who loves this man. He is a profoundly religious person that I think if I was having a theological debate with him, I would disagree with everything he says, but agree with the moral reasoning around everything that he says. No matter what happens, I believe that the Democratic primary for them is going to happen before this episode comes out, but I don't care what happens there. If there's one person that I want to vote for to have a significant impact on this government, it's James Tallarico. Not because I agree with every policy that he's talked about, but because I agree with his compassion, his thoughtfulness, and the way he relates to others. He's a person who cares deeply about other people, who's willing to defend his beliefs, willing to call people out, but not willing to call them names. I'm reminded when I hear James Tallarico speak, I'm reminded of John McCain at the debate with Obama, where a woman stood up and said, he's a Muslim and he's going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And even though he could have used that, McCain could have used that to tear Obama down and get votes. He said, no, ma'am, he's a good man. He's a very good man. We just happen to disagree on things. That's who James Tallarico reminds me of. And I so encourage you to support this person, whether you live in Texas or not. I so encourage you to follow him, because whether or not you might, I cannot imagine that you're a MAGA person and listening to this podcast. I can't imagine it. But if there's anyone who's going to bridge that gap, if anyone who's going to speak to the faithful, but not push their faith down your throats, he stood up against the 10 Commandments being posted in Texas schools, because he said, what about the Muslim student? What about the Sikh student? What about the atheist student? This is a righteous, compassionate, decent man who wants to bring everyone to the table. And man, do I want that person to eventually, he's still very young, eventually run for president.
When you guys, I don't remember who actually mentioned his name on the podcast before. I was like,
it was me. Yeah.
Okay. I had never heard that name before in my life. I tried to Google and I misspelled the name, and I eventually found the next day. And was reading a little bit about him. I'm like, okay, cool. And then
who's this Jimmy Tarachi they're talking about?
I'm bad at trying to figure out how a person's name is spelled just off of an alcohol induced podcast. But I read a little bit about him. I'm like, okay, this guy could be good for Texas politics. And then, of course, the whole thing with Colbert and him, and the network went on, and I just feel like his stock has risen so high in that amount of time. I know some people who were not super huge on Beto in Texas, but that guy might have been a bit of a martyr for a movement going on in Texas. He lost a few elections, but he really started getting to the people in Texas and opened those people's eyes, especially the Hispanic population, of hey, you're not an ignored group of people here. You have a voice. And I think that Tallarico is a great continuation of that in that state, because people have been saying if Texas ever goes blue, that's all that it needs, and that those people might be there, but they're just afraid to have their voices heard. And day by day it seems to be changing, and I'm grateful that there are people with good voices who are in that state reaching those people, and that it's continuing on.
So James Talarico, so again, as an ex-evangelical, as someone who has read the Bible multiple times, and I don't mean read the Bible, portions of the Bible multiple times, like literally sat down and I used to do as a yearly exercise, read it cover to cover, or read it through a chronological order, or read it through other pathways. James Talarico is the one politician in my entire lifetime that I know has actually read the Bible, because he's the only one who is actually speaking with the actual words of Christ. And he is the one that I know espouses the morals. He's the most Christ-like, and I'm not trying to say he's a savior. I'm not trying to say that, but if Christians are supposed to live admiring and mirroring the life of Christ, if Christians are supposed to follow the example of Christ, he is the most Christian, most Christ-like in that example of any politician I've ever seen in my entire life. And to me, it's not about rallying the Democrats. To me, it's not about changing the mind of the Republicans, but what it is I know that there are a good percentage of independent voters who have known, and I think particularly there have been a lot of Christian independent voters that have known that this has been wrong. But again, culturally, they don't want to go against what their church is, what their friend group is, what their town is, what their whatever is. And I think James Talarico doesn't just give them permission to vote against Trump. I think he gives them conviction to vote against Trump. He gives them hope. Like, they actually realize, holy shit, I am doing the right thing. Like, what I've known in my heart of hearts is actually honest. And here's someone, a pastor, a Bible-believing politician, someone who has shepherded a flock, someone who has studied the words of Christ. And if he's saying these things, one of the biggest challenges that has happened, what happened was when Billy Graham and the religious right got into bed with the Republicans, and they completely hijacked the Republican Party. You had a great party switch, but you also had people confusing political affiliations with religious affiliations. And he's giving so many people permission to stand up that have maybe felt almost ashamed to be progressive. And I think that's one of the most amazing things that he's doing. And yeah, obviously the Colbert thing. Colbert once again doing the Colbert bump like he's been doing for the last 20 years. But he went on Joe Rogan's podcast like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like he's also done the stuff that Pete Buttigieg has done, but he's done it in I love Pete Buttigieg. I love that he goes on to Fox News fearlessly. I love the way that he does that with facts and honesty and directness and patience. I don't want him to be president, but James Talarico is someone I think I could back for president. And I think he has so much of a unifying presence that I'm very excited. Like Kevin said, he speaks to people, and he speaks he has almost a Mr. Rogers countenance to him. It engenders trust. It engenders goodwill. And I think it's enough that it gets people to actually slow down and listen, right? I loved what you said about the John McCain thing, right? Where he's like, nope. And and that was, again, he did all that while having Sarah Palin standing right beside him. So
And, not everything's,
Yeah.
sunshine and roses there.
yeah, but it still spoke to a time of civility, right? And as much as I love to see a fiery Ilhan Omar, right? Fiery AOC, right? Like I love, we need people to be agitators in times like this, right? Like I don't want to discount the role of agitators.
No.
But someone who can be a uniter more than anything is what I get excited about with James Tellerico, and I don't I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket with him, but I've been excited about him for a couple of years now. So, yeah, I completely agree.
The agitator thing is a great callback to Kevin's thing about not everyone needs to be a protagonist. Like there are supporting characters, there's bit characters, there are roles, and people who understand where their roles are. And I know kind of saying that it sounds like I'm saying stay in your lane, but
No.
but there are people who know what they're good at, and people who understand that at an early stage are fantastic because they're never compromised. They know okay, this is what I'm good at. I'm just gonna stay here because I can fucking wreck at this. And yeah, that's not everyone needs to be have their high ambitions of being president. And I'm not trying to knock any of the people whose names that you said in there, because there are some in there who I would actually love to see run for president. But people who are good at this rep job of being like Pete, who Tim said before, Mayor Pete, I think that he's great as just being a pundit right now and going on these so-called enemy networks and being able to lay out facts and be undeterred. The dude has probably the best patience of anyone I've ever seen in this world, and that he can just keep on doing that is fantastic. And I think that more people do need to understand the roles that they have kind of made for themselves and just live it and do it.
I think I've obviously made my point here, and we've talked about being an atheist and things of that nature, but I just want to reiterate these very simple points. I'm an atheist. I'm a registered independent. And this person speaks to me, even though they're a religious person and to use a devout Democrat. If I was 25 instead of 45, I would move to Texas and work on his campaign. That's how much I believe in this person. I don't know. There might be skeletons in the closet. I have no idea. But if you want to talk about someone who speaks from the heart and treats other people with dignity and doesn't seem on the surface to do it for any other reason other than practical civility and decency, that's who that person represents to me. I think Mike.
So who's you didn't say who's after you?
I think it was
You
Mike.
just said, I'm first.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry. Maybe. All right. So
some of us listen to Kevin. It's fine.
Holy fuck! Oh my god! I just hit my funny bone on the back of my chair. That hurt.
Is this your last call?
Your last call?
Is this conceptual?
Yeah,
Are you doing
this is my last call. So I am doing an art piece. This is my Alice's restaurant. But no, I saved this one for last because this is my one that's actually kind of beer related. So this year, coming up pretty soon, May, is my 14th year of working in this industry. Basically a decade and a half. And I've poured at besides actually working in this industry, I've poured a lot of time into this industry because of the podcast and the first iteration of the podcast and my blog before I was even gainfully, in quotes, employed in this industry. Like, it feels like all that I know at this point in time. It's not. And my wife makes it a point to tell me that very often that my job should not define who I am. And that's a thing that I feel like I am continually working on in my life, is that my job is not who I am. But like as much as I do work on that, like my handles are still Mike Loves Beer. My website is still Mike Loves Beer, despite that I might not post on that. Like, it is part of who I am, and I do still love beer. I am trying to find a healthier relationship with beer in the last couple of years. Sometimes feeling like I'm on the right path and sometimes feeling like I'm not. But there are a lot of people doing fantastic things in this beer industry that I love and I respect. And I love you for it. I love you for loving the craft of beer. I love you for thinking of this as, yes, as a business, because you got to think of a business as a business, because that's, if you don't, you close. But I love the people who have been able to find a way to stay open while also expressing an art form in the beverage that you make, in the art that you make, on whether it be labels or merchandise or just the way that you express yourselves as a collective. I said on one of these episodes before about the Minnesota brewing scene and how much their voices over the last couple months have been inspiring to me. And I love seeing small businesses speaking and saying things that people feel. Because, if we're going to be told that businesses are people, then they should have opinions. And I love when a business gets to have an opinion and speak for their employees, for their people, for their communities. And it's a thing that continually draws me to this industry, while at the same time, this industry feels like it is killing me. And I'm not even speaking from the alcohol perspective. It's just, whether it be pay, whether it be safety, whether it be so many things that we have gone on about on this podcast before as specialized episodes or just speaking out of hand. Like, I love this industry so much. I love beer so much. I love the artists, the creators, the people who are involved in making amazing things. But it just sucks sometimes to think that this industry doesn't love you back. And I really didn't know where I was ultimately heading with this, but this is just something that I have struggled with for years, I would say. And I've probably said this on this show, but man, to all of you people out there making a living, or even those of you who are struggling to make a living by making fantastic beer, making fantastic art, making fantastic spots for your communities to come into and be who they are, I love you. And I will try to support you to the best that I can. I only have so much money. Obviously, I work in beer. Get with me. Like, I want to see what you're doing. I need a little pick me up in this industry, and I want to see people who are doing cool, interesting things. Like, I know stuff is going on out there, and I love it. When I do, I had a great boost in what I do recently when we had like a beer poking event at our brewery in fucking South Florida and had just great weather to be able to do something like that, and people showed up and were like, "What? You're going to put a hot thing into my beer? I'm for it." Like it was awesome. So like if you're doing cool community oriented stuff where you're at, shoot me a DM at Mike Loves Beer on Instagram or info at unitedwedrink.com and let me know, because I want to follow you. Like if my follow and my likes can help you, that's best I can do. Sometimes if I'm in your area, I will come and give you money whenever I can. But I love this industry. I want to see this industry survive. Like I don't want to see us all be like fucking millionaires and whatnot. Like people got to understand, like there's just not going to be that. And people who can understand that and be regional or be local and make money and keep their doors open, awesome. Like that's what I want. I want there to be neighborhood brew pubs and neighborhood breweries and places of art and just good times in your neighborhood. So yeah, it's just all about like this industry. I love you. You hate me sometimes, but you also love me. It's just expressing how I'm always back and forth with you. But yeah, send me your love in this industry and show me what cool stuff you're doing.
So I wanna call out a couple things. One, you said your website is Mike Loves Beer, but I also want to point out MikeYurevich.com is
Yeah, that is
also
true.
is also your website. But the thing that both Mike Loves Beer and MikeYurevich.com are missing is that neither of them have up to date on the amount of wildlife photography that Mike is doing, and very secretly he has become a very good wildlife photographer in his hunt to get the right bird pictures. He's just become generally a really good, again, for a guy who didn't come up, like I always have an academic bias for like anything, right? Like expertise comes through schooling type of thing. That's not how Mike has developed his skill set over the years. He's done it a lot through more experience and individualized learning and those types of things. But what Mike is doing from a photography standpoint, again, I need to get him up here so we can get a real bald eagle picture, and I don't have to see 17 more owl pictures today. But what he has become is actually just a fucking kick-ass wildlife photographer. He's not calling himself that.
No.
I'm calling himself that though. So if you go to Mike Loves Beer on Instagram, please, that's where the most up-to-date work of his is. So please check out Mike Loves Beer on Instagram. Go to MikeYurevich.com. If he can't figure out how to spell Tellerico, good luck spelling Mike Yurevich.
No, go out on that. Go out on that, Tim. Go out on that.
But
That worked.
Yeah.
You know, there's a former New York Yankees pitcher with the same name as me. Mike Yurevich was a pitcher for the Yankees in, I think, like the 70s or something like that.
That's funny.
But thank you, Tim. I absolutely do not consider myself a wildlife photographer, despite I love birds so much, and that is probably more than half of my
look
photos.
At your own Instagram page right now. I want you to go to your own Instagram account and look through what it is.
I love birds. I absolutely do, and it's. I don't consider myself it because, like, I know I don't have the chops that a lot of them do, and I don't have the patience that a lot of them do. But I have an art form that I look to try to make, and birds are very heavily involved in that. So like they're a good subject for me. Like they can get across my dark art very easily. So
you're a witch.
Real bird photographers fucking hate me. Like they think that I'm way too highly edited and whatnot, and that's fine. Like I'm not everyone's fucking wildlife photographer. I'm
Bird
not.
photographers hate him because of this one cool trick.
It's not even a cool trick. It's just what it's what I want. Like, I was
Mike
going
Yarevich,
to
hated by bird photographers since 2024.
that I should make it. That would be a cool bumper sticker.
I'd put it on my car.
There's the Audubon Society, the big bird proponents. Like they have the photography thing every year. And I was like, okay, this year I'm going to submit some photos. And then when I was actually reading the rules, I'm like, I'd be disqualified, like because they want stuff that's not edited. And I'm like, okay, I can admit that sometimes I take good photos straight out of the camera, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I want to make something look different, and I want to make something look even someone to say unnatural because it's just more intriguing to me. Like I'm not saying that those birds shots that people take that are in National Geographic or anything are bad. They're not. They're fantastic. But I just want to make something different. And that's why I love breweries who make fucking stuff that's different, is because I am.
Side note, when I was a kid, I really confused the Audubon Society with the Autobahn in Germany. I remember being like 8 years old and hearing both. Like I'd never seen Autobahn written out, but I remember like getting a National Geographic in the library at my grade school, and it said Audubon Society, and I totally thought it was going to be about German cars.
There's also a suburban Philadelphia town named Audubon, and there's also a town in New Jersey named Audubon. So it's just like there's all like, why is that term so popular with everything, with birds, roads, and towns?
Birds, roads, and towns. That's a great name for myself.
That's my new album.
I'd say that's my fifth favorite Springsteen album.
I'll say one thing before we go on to Tim's final last call, which is going to close us out, is that even through this episode where I have kind of preached the idea of being less cynical, I think I've made like 2 or 3 statements that are extremely cynical because it's so easy to do. And I love that what you were just talking about, Mike, is to kind of take some of the cynicism out of it and just show an appreciation for something that you love, photography and the brewing industry, and just kind of express a love and a joy for it. I don't think we do that enough in general. I think we forget that every day. You mentioned how long you've been in this industry. I just did some math. I've been in the industry now for 18 years professionally, and I am cynical most of the time. And when you talk about it, and also just randomly throughout my day, I feel good about it myself. But it's easy to go down that path. It's easy to go down the path of being the protagonist in the entire world story. It's harder to take a step back and appreciate things. So thank you for doing that.
Well, that actually segues really nice into what was going to be my last. It's pivoted on my list to what was going to be my last call anyway. So I was happy to end with this.
The lastest call.
The lastest call, because Kevin, you had mentioned earlier going to a beer fest and people actually bringing up United We Drink to you that you didn't expect, and I think my last call here, we joke a lot about having like 6 listeners, and I joke all the time about it being Eric Hild and Kevin's dad and maybe Phil every 3rd episode, and Matty Smooth when he doesn't have anything better to listen to. But the reality is I know there are a lot more listeners out there, and my last call is thank you. My favorite thing about this is every other week I get to hop on a call and hang out with 2 friends, and it's fun because it's like the adult version of a play date to me. In that I just know, right? Single guy, share custody from my daughter with her mom, but that also means that there are several times where I've gotten very accustomed to whatever my own life looks like. But it also means that I know that I have this time where I get to spend time just hanging out, talking with my friends. But the fact that you all listeners are actually a part of that with us makes that even more meaningful to me. That it's not just one of those COVID era Zoom calls. That it's literally we're doing this with thought, with purpose. And I know maybe it doesn't always sound like that or always seem like that, but we do care about this and we do invest time. Mike invests a lot of time editing all of these things as well. So I am personally grateful to you guys, and I know that I speak for Mike and Kevin when I say that I'm personally grateful to you guys, our listeners, for being a part of every other Thursday when these episodes drop, and knowing that people are listening, and then being I'm still always pleasantly surprised when I find out other people are actually listening to it or make a comment or engage in some way, shape, or form. But man, it's been a weird year in beer, and it's been weird and not like it's not been a topic-rich environment for the last year. I'll say to say the least. So I just want to say thank you. That's kind of my big last call.
If there's a sentiment I could echo more, it would be that. I mean, that's fantastic, Tim. Thank you for doing that for all three of us. That's wonderful.
It might sound like somewhat selfish, but like a vibe that I kind of got out of what Tim was saying that I will project as myself and assume that he means the same thing, and he can tell me to fuck off afterwards if that's not, is when people say, I wouldn't do this without you, listeners, I would still do this without you, listeners, because I enjoy having a time every other week that I get to talk with Kevin and Tim loosely about the beverage industry, but also about our lives. And it's awesome that there are people who listen to this and think that that is entertaining. I listen to so many podcasts that have great stories about things and I get to learn stuff. But when I see that there are podcasts of people just talking about their lives. There's accounts on Instagram, TikTok, wherever that are just vlogs, video blogs about people's lives that people listen to and care about. And the fact that I kind of think oh, sometimes I feel like our podcast is like that. Yeah, we talk about beer sometimes, or most of the time even, but there's a lot of times where we're talking about our kids and adulting and parenting and just trying to get through this weird fucking world that we live in, and that even a double-digit amount, triple-digit amount of people come and listen to that is insane, and I'm grateful for it. But man, I just love being able to get together with you guys and talk. If it was single digit amount of people listening to it, as long as it wasn't a financial burden to anyone on the show, I'd be like, let's just do this for a fucking effort.
Yeah, man. And also I don't know if our listeners that are abroad are just VPNs. I'm going to pretend like they're not VPNs. So the people who are accidentally listening to us in a completely different language and a completely different continent, thank you as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume VPN, but hey, if you listen to us from a country where we are not your primary language, let me know. I would fucking love to hear from you. Because I see the stats and I know that there's international listeners. So
It's someone who just tried to search Urevich on Spotify and came across this.
like,
They were looking for a
okay.
pitcher from the MLB to play for the Yankees in the 1960s.
Like I'm looking at just the stats from like our last episode. And like at the time that we're recording this, it's still like only a week old. But we have people from Spain, Belgium, Finland, France, Germany listening to us where English is not their primary language. Maybe yeah, like they do speak it, but like, hey, like is this your second language and you listen to us? Like, I want to hear from you. Like, let me hear your story. Maybe this is an episode is to like hear from people who are into beer and English isn't your first language. I want to like try to understand this a bit more because that's mind-boggling to me that anyone would want to listen to these fucking three dickheads say anything. So
United We Drink studies abroad. Yeah.
United We Drink asks the most pertinent question of all. Why the hell do you listen to us? And we bring individuals on the show and they go, well, because you guys are great. And we're like, oh, that's amazing. Like that's self-aggrandizing and feels very uncomfortable, but please say more.
Because I like listening to three monkeys chatter.
So we're not going to have last calls to our last calls, obviously, for this particular episode. I mean, I don't have one planned. Wasn't about to, but I do.
We have run long as is.
Does anyone want to plug anything before we shove off here?
Again, Mike Loves Beer on Instagram. Go check out his work. I think it's great stuff.
Kevin, you guys have an anniversary coming up, right? Oh, I think he just unplugged his microphone and or headphones. So, Kevin, are you back?
He'll be back right now. So anyway, I said it. I wrecked him, damn near killed him.
I have no idea what just happened over the last few seconds, but my computer just threatened to shut down because I had no power to it. So I was scrambling to make sure that I could be here for the last seconds of the show. And I'm good.
Do you want to plug your anniversary party at your brewery?
No, who the fuck's going to go to that? That's just ridiculous. 11 years, no one cares. 11 years of Barrel of Monks. Don't
Finland
do
or
that.
Belgium, apparently.
If you're coming in from Finland or Belgium, please come to the Barrel of Monks anniversary party, which I don't even know when the date is. I think it's like in 2 weeks. What is it?
What a good owner.
Yeah. It's not important. Guys, come on. Who cares about all this? Who cares about anniversary? The 14th of March. The Ides of March, I believe they say.
This episode will be out before then. So, yes, go there. Because that one goes to 11.
It goes to 11, and we'll have beer and good times.
Thank you, everyone who continues to come back to the show. Hopefully, this was entertaining to you. I had a fuckload of fun. I don't know if fuckload is the right like metric unit. You guys,
it's more of an imperial unit, but I did have a fuck ton of fun as well.
The imperial pint of fuck ton and fuckload.
No, this is good. This is something I've been asking for a while, and this was
you have been, yeah.
We
made it happen.
I know
2026 will be the year that we make things happen. Finally.
And let's get a thumbs up, thumbs down from the audience. Was this Tim Johnson's best idea of all time, or not his best idea of all time? I'm voting for best idea. I enjoyed this incredibly, and I think many people will. But let's hear
I feel
from
like
you guys.
I just turned into a Make-A-Wish kid with this, but
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many ideas has he thrown out? So, like, this will be his best for sure.
to be fair, yeah. When you have one of one, I think that's both best and worst.
He's batting
So,
1,000.
yeah.
This is just
We
setting
have a
us up.
batting champion right here on this show. Everything goes back to baseball here, by the way.
Hasn't happened since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle did it.
Next
Akron
week,
Groom
guys.
was in.
I'm just going to give you guys
Oil
a
can
preview.
Boyd.
I'm just giving you guys a preview. Next week is, oops. All what are we drinking?
The one you've all been asking for. Here we go.
He's so shit-faced.
Follow us on all of the socials. Buy things at our website.
Just so you know, I'm drinking a Lost Coast IPA right now.
Ooh.
It's been a while.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.